We continue our coverage of protests in downtown Nashville as the story continues to develop. This is a live look from Sky 5 as we see those crowds in downtown Nashville that have made their way towards the Central Metro Police Precinct. Things started out very calm this afternoon, and as the event has gone on throughout the afternoon and evening, crowds have become a little more fired up. There has been some damage to a police precinct outside of a police vehicle outside of that building. Also hearing some reports of people just getting a little more emotional as the evening has gone on. We have multiple crews on the ground staying with protesters as they make their way through the city, including News Channel 5's Chris Davis, who has been there from the beginning. Chris, how are things looking out there now?
You know, much as Eric just mentioned, things are starting to take a little bit of a breath compared to some of the tension maybe a few minutes ago. I want to give you a lay of the land here. This is the Central Precinct, and it is right here by the NES building, but you have a wall of officers and some demonstrators that are just kind of bunched up right here on 6th Avenue. They're, I believe, trying to kind of block one of the entrances to the Central Precinct right there on the side. Meanwhile, you have the crowd that has gathered out into the road here on Korean Veterans Boulevard, and it stretches all the way back to the roundabout that has that art fixture right there. So pretty much just a wall of people that are right in front of the Central Precinct that are just kind of standing by. There's been a lot of back and forth between officers and some of these demonstrators. My photographer, Brian Hallett, just moments ago, we were pretty much close right up there towards the entrance, and they, there's just lots of interactions back and forth between, well, actually, the officers remaining fairly silent, but a lot of the demonstrators were starting to chant some of their chants towards them, officers staying very stoic as they do that. We're keeping an eye on everything. So far, everything has stayed, for the most part, pretty calm in the last couple minutes, but of course, we'll keep an eye on things, Emily.
Here's another live look from Sky 5 and we get kind of a bird's eye view of the crowd as Chris is describing. Things might be calming down slightly, but obviously, as you can see there, still a lot of people out in downtown Nashville. Estimates of thousands of people participating in this event since it started earlier this afternoon. In downtown at a church, the protesters made their way towards Legislative Plaza where several speakers shared their views. Again, all of this is demanding justice after the death of George Floyd in Minnesota. And you can see the number of people that have strong feelings about this that wanted to participate in this rally. We heard from the organizers at the beginning that this was intended to be a peaceful protest, a peaceful event where people just wanted to come out and share their views. It started out that way, and then as the group continued to move through downtown, violence did pick up some. As you can see from that shot, there is a police cruiser there in the corner of your screen that was damaged by some of the protesters. We're still waiting to learn a little more about the extent of that damage and what happened. But you can see the crowd kind of gathering there around the Central Metro Police Precinct. And it looks like they're just pretty much standing around at this point. As Chris mentioned, the crowd might be dispersing slightly, so we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Let's head back out to News Channel 5's Sina Saleem, who is on the ground. Sina, what are you seeing from your vantage point?
Yeah, things certainly have calmed down. We were talking about a few minutes ago, people were chanting really loudly. Things started to get more rowdy, and protesters were throwing items at police officers and stomping on police cars. But now, as you can see around me, it's very calm. People aren't really chanting anymore. They're just holding up their signs. A lot of them saying, common messages like Black Lives Matter, justice for George. I want you to take a look at the ground right here. We saw somebody spray painting before George Floyd. This is what sparked this rally. People are really demanding change. They want to have conversations about racism and police brutality. And they've been saying, say his name over and over again. And when they say his name, they mean George Floyd. They want change, and as you can imagine, this is such an intense topic that emotions are certainly running high. People are angry, they're feeling frustrated. A lot of the protesters we spoke with here today said, am I next? So there's certainly a lot of fear going on here tonight. And this protest was meant to be a peaceful protest, so again, it got a little bit rowdy, but it started to calm down again. Now they're chanting again. There's about I would say, a couple hundred people out here today. We are in front of Central Precinct. This started at Rosa Parks Park Boulevard. Then we went to the Legislative Plaza, and now we are here. So people have been marching, holding signs, chanting, demanding change. A common chant that they've been saying is no justice, no peace. So again, the message here tonight is ending police brutality and wanting change. I'm going to toss things over to my colleague now, Chris Davis, who can tell us more what's going on his end. Chris?
Okay. So just want to give you a recap of just kind of how our day has been looking so far. Everything started over at Legislative Plaza, where there was a rally between 3 to 5. You had lots of different speakers sharing different sentiments about reacting to, of course, the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as interactions in Minneapolis. That march that left around 5 o'clock, left from Legislative Plaza, came all this way over to the Central Precinct here just behind Music City Center, where the crowd has pretty much stayed put for about the last hour just in front of this Central Precinct. You have a line of officers just directly in front of these glass windows guarding this part of 6th Avenue so that you don't have individuals try to go around up into the kind of the raised tier portion to get into the Central Precinct. We've seen several different individuals throw water bottles and objects towards the building itself. We've also seen some people actually throw some items at officers themselves, but thankfully we haven't seen that happen in quite some time in the last few minutes or so. So things seem to be dying down. You start to see some people maybe going back towards their cars. In fact, I'm looking through the tunnel here at Music City Center, and you're seeing some people maybe progress to their cars. So maybe that's a sign that things are starting to die down, but no way of really knowing until we see this play out. And of course, we'll keep an eye on it, Emily.
Okay, Chris, thank you so much for that update. Again, we'll continue to monitor the story. It's unclear if protesters will get on the move again. We've been following them throughout the afternoon and evening as they have moved throughout several portions of downtown. Now, as Chris mentioned, it appears they're kind of centered around the Central Metro Police Precinct. We don't know if they will be staying put there or moving again. We'll continue to monitor that. But again, there has been some violence as this event has escalated, including some rocks and water bottles thrown at police officers, and the windows of a police cruiser were bashed in. Let's go back out to News Channel 5's Sina Saleem. She is outside the Central Police Precinct where some of that action has been happening. Sina, what are you seeing? Or does it appear people might be moving away from that area? Looks like we are not able to get to Sina right now. We'll try to circle back with her in just a second. Here's another shot from Sky 5 of that police cruiser I mentioned that had its windows bashed in. That is when police had to really circle that area and kind of get the protesters under control. Up to that point, everything was very calm, no violence up to that point. And again, it looks like officers are kind of setting up a line of people there to try to get it under control. Now, it looks like we've got more activity there on the ground. Let's go back out to Sina. Sina, what are you seeing out there?
Hey, Emily, as you can see, they brought the SWAT team back in, and people are yelling at them. They're angry. I'm going to actually be silent for a little bit so that you can hear what's going on and see it and take it in for yourself.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, the police are back. They left for a little bit before because protesters were throwing items at them like rocks and water bottles. But they're back here again, going in front of the Central Police Precinct. But you can tell people are getting rowdy. They're upset. They want change. So this whole protest is because they want to end police brutality. This after an incident in Minneapolis with George Floyd. So you can tell people are upset. This is an intense situation. They're frustrated. People are yelling at SWAT right now, but they're bringing them back. You can see the cop cars behind them, and it has been vandalized. People spray painted all over them. They put signs on top of the cars. A lot of them saying things like, George Floyd, all we want to do is be free. People are definitely getting more rowdy here. They're crowding us with their signs. You know, people are frustrated and they want to see some change. We're going to toss things over now to Eric Hill, who can tell us what's going on over there. Eric?
There's running. We're in the Music City Tunnel right now, and people
are running through the Music City Tunnel. Right now, you're coming to us as people were marching through. You can smell something that smells like smoke, maybe fireworks or something, but as you were coming to us, people were marching through the Music City Center, going this way toward North Nashville. But now it looks like, oh, let's go down here. People may have pulled up a bench here under the Music City Center, thrown it down into the road. There was a lot of excitement right when you came to us. People started running, people started screaming through the Music City Center tunnel. Things now still staying up. There's still a lot of noise, a lot of excitement. This all started as people started to move away from the central precinct, and then things started heating up again. We're seeing rocks being thrown again, spray paint over on the other side of the wall. You can see some BLM spray painted on the wall, as well as some other things. But folks are starting to move away from the central precinct. And again, I just want to recap what happened in the last 10 minutes. Right when you came to us, people were walking through the Music City Center tunnel away from the...
It looks like we're having trouble talking to Eric there. We'll try to get back with him shortly. This is another live look from Sky 5 of that crowd moving that Eric was referencing. It looks like there is now activity around Music City Center. We're trying to figure out what was going on there that Eric was seeing. It seemed like people were running and a bit frantic in there. We don't know if they were reacting to the crowd or to something else. But obviously, activity is picking up as we thought things were maybe slowing down, dying down a little bit. The crowd was easing up. Now it appears energy is high again. People are still concerned. Doesn't appear they are going away anytime soon. So we will continue to monitor this developing story. Let's go back out to News Channel 5's Chris Davis. Chris, if you're still there, can you tell us what you are seeing?
So Emily, we were with Eric as people are going through this tunnel here inside under Music City Center. We heard some loud bangs. We saw some benches that were turned over off to the side. We've seen some new graffiti that is also developed on the side of these poles here under Music City Center as well. There's a lot of people. Let's get a little space here, Brian. So we saw a huge rush of people run through the tunnel at one point. Hey! We're just trying to do our job. So we're seeing a rush of people come through this tunnel. It looks like we have people that are trying to clear away from it. We're trying to do our jobs. Excuse us. We're trying to do our jobs. Let's send it back to you, Emily.
Hey, Chris, thank you so much. Please stay safe out there. Obviously, emotions running high. People are just maybe not thinking clearly there. Chris, try to get some space there and stay safe. We see another angle here of those crowds continuing to move. Still trying to figure out exactly where people are headed next, but obviously still very emotional. This rally is not dying down anytime soon. As we have been following it throughout the afternoon, it was supposed to end around 5 o'clock, and that is really when things started to ramp up again as protesters moved through downtown and went to the Central Police Precinct. That's when there was some violence, some damage to police cars, people throwing water bottles and rocks at police officers. And now it appears they may be kind of moving into the next phase of this. We'll see what happens throughout the rest of the evening. Let's head back out to News Channel 5's Sina Sleem. Sina, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's been very up and down. Some people were just talking to us before, yelling at us. You know, the thing is, emotions are running high today. As you can tell, this is a very emotional topic that we're talking about. Right now, you can see the SWAT team. They're standing in front of this Central Police Precinct. Then there's people kind of getting in their face. They're yelling at them. They're just angry, you know? I mean, that really is the best way to describe what's going on today. People are frustrated and they're angry, and you can see that in their chants. You can see it in their face, the way that they're talking to the officers. Now, it was getting calm a bit ago, but now things are starting to get a little bit more rowdy again. They brought out a loudspeaker. People are chanting and just asking for justice. We saw people spray paint on the police cars before and stomping on top of them. And people were throwing items at the police officers before. So it's definitely getting more rowdy, but again, this is such an intense topic. I mean, we're here because we're talking about ending police brutality and we want to have a productive conversation about racism. This all stems from the incident with George Floyd, a black man who was getting arrested in Minneapolis, and he ended up dead. An officer put his knee on his neck. So, you know, a lot of people here today are having signs that say justice for George Floyd. They've been spray painting it on the ground. They just want to see change. So again, hundreds of people are out here today. They're starting to slowly disperse, but again, still hundreds of people out here with their signs. I don't know if you can listen in right now with what's going on. They're addressing the officers over here. So we're just gonna wrap things up over here and we're gonna toss it back to you, Emily, as things are getting a little bit rowdy here.
Okay, Sina, thank you. Please stay safe out there. And let's see if we can get another shot of Sky 5. There we go, of the crowd that we continue to monitor. Let's head back out to News Channel 5's Eric Hilt. Eric, hopefully you have moved to a safe space. What are you seeing now?
Yeah, the crowd has moved north on 6th Avenue, away from the Music City Center. As you could see, there was a lot of chaos kind of going through the Music City Center tunnel as there was screaming, there was running, people were pushing and shoving. Things calmer now as that crowd has moved north. But also inside that Music City Center tunnel, you could kind of feel the anger, things boiling over, and it's something that we've heard all morning into this afternoon of people being angry and fed up with this. And that's what we felt, that's what you could hear in the Music City Centers. And as you can see, people still making their way, people still trying to move north up on 6th Avenue South as they try and move this thing. We're going to go ahead and send it back to you, Emily, as we have some people here, but we'll send it back to the studio.
Okay, no problem, Eric. Thank you so much. Try to stay safe out there. Let's take another look here at Sky 5. Again, just to recap what we've been following throughout the afternoon, this is all starting because of the I Will Breathe rally that was starting in downtown. Multiple groups came together to put this on, all in response to the death of George Floyd, demanding justice for George Floyd. Organizers said this was intended to be a peaceful event. They just wanted to share their thoughts and opinions on the issue and the way police handled it. It started out that way. They kind of gathered at Legislative Plaza. There were multiple speakers there, including Mayor John Cooper, several Metro Council members also making appearances there. Several speakers addressed the crowd, and then protesters took off and started marching. And as they moved through downtown, that's when things started to escalate a little bit towards the Central Police Precinct, where rocks and water bottles at one point were thrown at some of the Metro police officers. One of the police cruisers' windows were bashed in. So again, violence did escalate slightly. Now it appears the group may be dispersing some, as we're hearing from our crews on the ground. We can't tell if they are going to be moving to another location or if they're kind of breaking up for the evening. But we will continue to follow this story throughout the evening and, of course, have the very latest online as well as News Channel 5 at 10.